What's going on, guys? I'm Trumpeteer and welcome to my first behind the scenes video. Let me get started by explaining everything. So last Saturday I was thinking about the experiment video that I was going to upload today, and I thought of another sort of secondary experiment that would really complement the whole thing and make it a lot cooler. And so I then began brainstorming about that secondary experiment, and I realized I would need an object for that experiment, and it's one that something similar exists on the market, and but it's not really what I need and not the size I need and everything. Plus I'd have to pay like $50 to $100 for it. And so then I started brainstorming about this object that I'd have to build, have to prototype and everything. And I realized it would be a pretty significant thing. It would be a pretty big project in and of itself, and it would be one that would prevent me from uploading my original experiment video. But it's not really something that I would want to make a tutorial for, because I just feel like it wouldn't be very useful in everyday use, basically. So I started thinking about ways to continue uploading every Friday, and especially this experiment video, while still being able to do these really fun, really cool projects. And so I thought of these behind-the-scenes videos as a way to allow me to upload more often while keeping content great. And also, I feel like it'd be a really good window, pretty much a raw, unfiltered, unscripted window into the creation process. Because the creation process is, I would say, when you're designing and building something from scratch, I'd say probably 60% plus of the whole video process, because filming and editing are really only small parts of it. So I think that these videos would be a great idea for either those really large projects where it's taking me forever to prototype, build, and everything, or just projects that I need to make for a certain video but I don't think are worthy of a tutorial. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. So anyway, this object that I need is a sort of a portable, mini, adjustable fire spit, or rather just a spit. And a spit is something that you basically put over a fire pit, fireplace, to like rotisserie stuff, roast stuff, you name it. So anyway, let me sketch what I started brainstorming that next day after I figured out that I need to make this thing. So first I started out with just a normal spit, basically just the shape I saw in my head, which is I mean, I'm a terrible artist, so excuse the terribleness, but yeah. I started out with just two legs, which meant like that, and then basically the spit part of it goes across like that, and then you have two more legs just like that. And so originally I was just planning on making it really simple and just putting the skewer, or the whatever you call it, the actual spit part of it, resting on top of these two legs. But then I realized, wait a second, what is actually preventing those legs from falling over? And plus I needed it to be adjustable, so then I was thinking about how to make it adjustable. And so I thought of basically, instead of the legs connecting to each other, connecting to a sort of rectangular piece of wood with a hole missing in the middle, like so. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible at drawing, but anyway. Yeah, so imagine these are two rectangles, and there's a rectangle missing in the middle, and basically there would be one on both sides of the legs, and basically you'd be able to slide the spit up and down inside that hole in the middle. And then I started thinking about ways to fasten it. Originally I thought about just resting it on a bolt that I would tighten through this hole, but then I realized that's not very secure. So then I started thinking about the actual piece to hold the spit in place. And what I was thinking of was another rectangular sort of piece, and basically there would be a hole missing right here for a round skewer, if you want to put a round skewer in there for like easily twisting it while it's roasting something or something like that. And then I also thought, from the beginning, I knew I needed, or I was going to at least roast a hot dog. And I'd imagine that a hot dog doesn't do too well on a round skewer, so I am going to basically cut a line, cut a notch down there, so that it's not only just a round hole, but you also have a slot missing right there. And that way you could slide in a strip of wood or a strip of something rather than just a rod, which would just, the hot dog, the marshmallow would just spin around on it and not get anything done. And then what I thought of was basically drill a hole right here so that I can put a bolt through it and then tighten it down. Basically, I'd have two of these pieces right here, one on each side of the legs here, or one on each side of this rectangular piece, that is. And so then I put a bolt through, I get a wing nut and a washer, and on the other side I do the same thing, or maybe not a wing nut, but yeah, basically probably just a washer and a nut. And then I would be able to hand tighten it to whatever height that I wanted to, sliding it up and down like so. And that's what I have so far. Also, another thing I thought of was being able to adjust not only the height of the spit, but also the distance that these two legs are apart, because they need to be able to straddle something. They need to be able to straddle, since this will be sort of a mini spit, it'll need to straddle like maybe like a Bunsen burner, or one of those little like those warmer things that they use at catering events and whatnot to keep food warm. So anyway, you need to be able to separate the legs and close them and whatnot. And yeah, so what I was thinking about for that is, which would basically, okay, so say this is one of the legs, right? This is, oh gosh. Hey, it's not easy to draw behind a camera. But anyway, that is one of the legs, which is probably going to just be a square rod that I bought at Hobby Lobby the other day. And I'm going to basically put a slot right here and a slot on the other leg. So one here and one here, the matching leg. And through those two slots, you could stick a strip of wood and it would connect them. And that strip of wood can be however long you want, and you would do it on each side here. So yeah, basically it'll be much easier to sort of explain as I go along, but that's the general brainstorming I've done so far. But unfortunately, while I do have the wooden rod, or the wooden pole leg, whatever you would call it, I don't have any of the hardware like the wing nut and the bolt and whatnot and the washers, so let's go take a trip to the hardware store. Found the bolts. Let's see here. I want the wood strip to be about 1 inch wide, so I'm thinking maybe a 1/4 inch bolt would be perfect. Which looks like right here. I would prefer it just to have a nut end to it, not this little round thing. Makes it harder to tighten that way. But actually, yeah, there's more over here. Let's see here. Oh, that is much better. Hex bolt. Perfect. So yeah, 1/4 inch, we will get 2 of those. Got our bolts, and they're cheap too, 17 cents. Wow. Now we need washers and wing nuts and nuts in general. I think. Wait, so no, maybe just washers and wing nuts now. Let's see. Washers and wing nuts. So it looks like the washers, we want a 1/4 inch. These are 1/4 inch bolts, so we want 1/4 inch washers. And there they are up here. That's perfect. Perfect, yeah, that's exactly what we want. Now we just need some wing nuts. So in the same area, we finally found the wing nuts. Of course, we want 1/4 inch as well to match our bolts and our washers. And they're out of the normal ones, which are probably cheaper, but that's okay. Stainless steel is better anyway. So yeah, we'll get 2 of them. Cool, 1/4 inch, awesome. Actually, while looking for the wing nuts, I realized these might be maybe be a little too long for the project. So since they're so cheap, I'm just gonna probably grab like 2 of each, like 2 3/4 inch ones and some 1-inch ones, just in case. They're super cheap anyway, might as well. Yeah. And we should be good to go with all this hardware. Oops, if I can flip it over. So just to recap, we got 2 of each size bolt. This is, I believe, let me check actually. I believe it's 1.5 inches. So the diameter is 1/4 inch by 1.5 inches long. And we got some 1-inch ones right here and 3/4 inch ones, just in case any of them are too long or too small for our project. Then we got the washers, 1/4 inch as well, and the wing nuts, 1/4 inch. So everything is going to fit together nicely. Awesome. All right, I think I've got everything I need out here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use these, I guess I'll call them a rod. Use these rods I bought to make the legs of the spit. And they are 3/8 by 3/8 by 24 inches, so square rods, just 2 feet long. So what I'm thinking is 1 foot legs should probably be a good length, but let's kind of hold them up and see. Because it would be great if I could get 2 legs from every rod that I have. So let's see here. About 1 inch in the middle. Yeah, that should be pretty good. Good length. All right, so now let's mark. Get a ruler, and I wish I had a space for a workbench. This table's too small for all this, but anyway, let's mark 1 foot. Let's do the same thing for another rod. So we will need 4 legs. Perfect. All right, we've got our 2 legs marked out. Looking good, lined up. Awesome. Now let's just go ahead and cut them in half. And I am wearing safety glasses for this, so don't have to worry about anything flying and hitting my eyeball. Oh, by the way, this is a scroll saw here. It's a pretty great tool. Alright, there's 1 cut in half. Perfect. Okay, so we've got 4 legs here now. They're all pretty much the same length, I think. Let me see here. Yeah, it's pretty acceptable. Okay, and next, let's see here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut out all the simple pieces first. So next we'll be needing those 1-inch strips of wood that we'll be using to adjust the height of the spit, which is my big sheet of plywood over here. And I guess first I'm going to have to mark it up. Alright, so let's just check, make sure that's good length. Yeah, it should be able to straddle a decent size object. Okay, and now, so I was thinking 1-inch strips. I'm not sure how long I want to make it. Depends on how adjustable I want it to be, really. So, this was another project I was going to do. Let's flip it over. By the way, this is, what is it? This is 1/8 inch by 12 inch by 24 inches plywood. So it's got, it's like 3 layers. It's really strong stuff, really high quality stuff. Bought that over my local Hobby Lobby. Love that place. Not sponsored, by the way, but would love to be. Okay, so yeah, just gonna try to squeeze that in here. So a good length. I'm trying to think. I can move this. Then you also have the landscaping going on. Let's see here. So I want the thing to be at least 6 inches off the ground, and then I'm thinking probably about a 1 foot, 1 foot strip, so you can adjust it up and down 12 inches should be good. So let's go ahead and, oh, I got a splinter. Let's go ahead and trace it out real quick. Oh, there it is. All right. Sorry about the obnoxious lawnmower going. All right, so 12 inches. Probably go from the edge here because it's already a nice clean cut. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use some graphing paper to make sure that, basically make sure that the line is straight, so I don't have like a sort of diagonal going. So let's first find out how many squares are there to an inch. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 squares, perfect. All right. And now we'll just line up this graphing paper. Perfect. Oh, you can't even see what I just did. Okay. Well, basically I went 10 squares up from this line right here. All right, so now we can just easily line up the ruler and trace it out. Cool. All right, there's our 1 foot by 1 inch strip. Now we need to make another one. I think what I'll do is I'll just hope that I can cut a fairly straight line with the scroll saw, and I'll just approximate this one. It doesn't have to be really super exact. All right, there's 2 1 inch by 1 foot strips, and now let's cut them out. It's a pretty good cut. All right. Now I think what I'll do is, instead of cutting them both out, like this whole thing at the same time, I'm just going to cut it one by one. Yeah. Just have to move the camera yet again. Alright, well that's one of them cut out. It's nowhere near a perfect cut, but that's nothing that a little Dremel work can't fix. As we got one cut out, and now for the other one. Awesome. Sweet. We've got our 2 sliders, I guess I'll call them. And yeah, I'm probably gonna sand those down a bit with the Dremel later on, but that's good for now. All right, so now I'm just gonna move over all our sort of raw but cut pieces. And next, what we need to do is actually make these pieces here. So let's see. So I'm thinking of which size, like what dimensions the rectangle should be. Let me move this out of the way again real quick. All right, so let's think about this for a second. So these slider strips are 1 inch wide. So I'm wondering how wide the actual tightening sort of the fasteners will be. I'm thinking a little longer than 1 inch wide, because that way you can just sort of hold it by the side rather than going like that. So you could just grab it by the side. So yeah, we'll go with 1.5 inches wide. All right, so we figured out 1.5 inches wide. I wonder how long they should be. We'll find out in a second. First, let me just trace out 1.5 inches. I don't know. It seems kind of wide to me. Let me compare. I could make it a little more narrow, actually. Yeah, let's make it 1.25 inches. That just seems a little too wide to me. So that's another thing you don't see in my tutorial videos is the indecisiveness. Alright, so 1.5 inches wide looks good. And I think to start out, we'll just basically make a rectangle that will be definitely long enough and definitely too long, but we can always shorten it later on. So we'll do probably 2 inches. And since we have to make multiple of these, I'm just going to keep on tracing them. We're going to need 4 of them in total. Actually, yeah, 4 of them. One, two, three, 4. Perfect. Actually, yeah, now let's just draw the line. Awesome. And separate those out now. All right, looking good. We got our 4 little fastener pieces of wood. Now let's cut them out. This time though, I am going to cut them out as one strip because it's pretty easy to just hold a piece and cut it that way. So we'll make it easier on ourselves. All right. Looking pretty good. I actually did a better job cutting those than I did the slider bits, but whatever. Let's cut them out individually now. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Those are looking pretty good. Pretty good. They kind of look like playing cards a little bit. All right. And as far as sizing, I am going to probably have to sand them down a little bit to get rid of the sharp edges, but that's looking pretty good. They're all about the same size. All right, so those taken care of, and I do think that's all the pieces of wood that we needed to cut out. Let me see here. So we've got our legs here, and then we have our sliders, and then we have our fastener bits. I think the rest of it, yeah, so leg, slider, fastener. Yeah, the rest of it is just drilling, cutting, trimming, that kind of thing. So let's get started. All right, so since I cut these pretty bad in some places, as you can see, it's like, yeah. Since I cut those pretty bad, I grabbed my Dremel with a sanding belt, and I'm probably gonna trim those down, smooth them out a little bit. Sorry about the paper on the table, by the way. It's probably pretty annoying to look at, but the heat out here has warped the paper. Inside, this paper was completely flat, but out here, since it's 90 degrees, it's warped. Anyway, yeah, let's trim this down real quick. About 10. All right, that's looking better. Of course, like I said, I'll be sanding this down at the end, so to smooth it out better. By the way, that was a pretty coarse sanding belt attachment. So, okay, well, those are sanded. Yep. Now, let's see here. I guess what we want to do now, we can really do these steps in any order, but I think what I'll do now is I'll figure out the angle that these are going to be mounted. Basically, so I'm planning on cutting a slot in this this rod right here. So basically it'll fit right in like that. Well, this will be straight, so yeah. Basically it'll be probably down here. And let's see if I can zoom out. It's gonna be down here, and it's gonna be at an angle so that it has more area to contact with this slider piece. So it'll be, all right, so we want the slider piece at a minimum of about 6 inches. Yeah, that should be a pretty good angle. to be a decent sized straddle. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to trace out this angle. I think. Yeah. So we want to go to the top corner of this rod and trace out this angle here. I mean, pretty much any angle will do, so I'll just like use a ruler pretty much. Okay, that should be good. Let's test that. So that is the angle we'd be looking at. Well, yeah, I mean, I could always change it up when I'm actually drilling it, but let's do the same for the other rod now. All right, those are looking nice and congruent. Now we have two more. Let me just show up close what I'm doing here. So all I'm doing is lining up these two sticks perfectly, and since the line goes from this corner to this point, if we just line it up and do the same thing basically from this point to the corner, it'll be the exact same angle, which is perfect. That way we don't have to get a protractor out, and it's easier, yeah. Work smarter, not harder is what they always say. Looking good. Yep. That's perfect. Okay. Now let's just make sure that we have 4 matching angle legs. All right, well, now we've got a general idea of the lines we're going to etch. All right, now that we have the sort of angle marked out that we're going to create a notch at, let's now create the holes in the sliders. Because I'd rather not lift up that scroll saw, get it up here, and then take it back down. And yeah, so our bolts, our washers, and our wing nuts are all 1/4 inch size. So what we want to do is we want to create a sort of hole in the middle here that is larger than 1/4, because we want the bolt to be able to slide up here freely. So let's see here. So that would be 1/4 inch. Between my fingernails is 1/4 inch. So what we're gonna do is probably do 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, that should give it enough space. All right, so we'll do 3/8 of an inch, and we want to do it definitely in the center of it. All right, so yeah, we want to do 3/8 of an inch. No, that's too much. Okay, and now leave about, let me see here. We want to leave, I'm thinking about right now how much space we need to leave so that the fastener bit has room to tighten, basically. All right, so what I'm just brainstorming right now is basically we need the bolt to be able to go through the track, go through this hole in the middle, but we also need to have space for the fastener bit to stay tightened. So I mean, I guess we'll just cut it up almost to the top, and we just won't be able to take the slider all the way up. It'll be a slight limitation on the height of it, but I mean, nothing serious, maybe just like 1/2 inch. So we'll just leave a little bit of space like that, and let's mark out the 3/8 of an inch. All right, so 1/4 inch there, 1/4 inch, 3/8. All right, so yeah, that's 3/8 of an inch wide, and it's looking pretty centered. So let's trace that out. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Just connect the dots there, connect the lines, and we have our hole drawn out for the first one. Now let's just go ahead and do the same thing for the other one real quick. Okay, well that one was a little rougher of a job, but let's just check the width of it real quick. All right, so now we have the holes etched out or traced out on the sliders. Those are good. And I think that's about all we need to do with the scroll saw. I mean, not all we need to do, but there's something that we have to do first. So I guess we'll go ahead and do that then. So that's something that we need to do first is actually drill the hole for the skewer to go through. Basically, what I'm thinking of doing is drilling, instead of just carving out a notch for the skewer, which, you know, it's not really easy to do. I mean, there's some tools you can use with the Dremel, but they're not really accurate. It's kind of tough. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill a hole somewhere in the top of this, and then I'll just cut off the top, so it'll be a perfectly round hole that the skewer can rest in. It'll be a lot quicker and a lot easier. So yeah, I'm thinking we want to be able to fit as large of a skewer as possible. So yeah, we'll probably use a 1/4 inch bit. And since I want them to pretty much all be in the same spot, so they're the same length in the end when I trim them, I'm going to drill them all at once. And unfortunately, I don't have a drill press. This is where one would come in handy. But I don't have like I said earlier, I don't have a workbench. I don't have space for a workbench either. So I'm just going to have to use a hand drill and hope that it goes in a straight line. Okay, so we got a bunch of scratch paper here to protect our surface we're drilling on. And make sure they're all lined up. Cool. Got our 1/4 inch bit. Let's go ahead and just drill that hole. I do want it to be centered. There we go. Oh no. See, that's one thing I'm kind of worried about, is the pieces sliding around. So yeah, I guess I just have to push down really hard to make sure these pieces don't slide. All right, good enough. Okay, now I'm just gonna press a lot harder. And I think that made it through since the paper got moved. Yes, we made it through. Line them up and we should be able to see through them. Oh yeah, that's great, that's perfect. Looks like it was a fairly straight hole, so not bad. Okay, now those are good, and I think that's everything we needed to do in preparation for the scroll saw. Yeah, if it's not, then we can always just move it out of the way again. Actually, I did just think of something that we needed to do first, and that is we need a hole, basically we need a hole in this strip to be able to start the scroll saw. Because we can't just magically get the blade in there, so we have to start I think they would call it like a pilot hole or something like that, maybe not, I don't know, but I'm gonna make it at the end here. Nice and simple though. Cool. Perfect. Got one there. Cool. All right, we've got 2 holes that we can put our scroll saw blade through, and I think now we should be good. All right, so first things first on the scroll saw, I think I'm going to start with the rods, etching the line into the rods. So, by the way, sorry about all the noise. I live off of a major street, and yeah, it's not too quiet over here in the daytime. But all right, so basically all we're going to do is we're going to follow these angles here as a sort of guide to like etch this in. All right, so I mean we kind of have a groove, but I think at this point it'd be better to use a Dremel. So I guess I'll get all the notches started on the other piece real quick, the other pieces, and then we can just use a Dremel to finish it off. All right, we got the grinding wheel and the Dremel, and let's just, I guess, use it to kind of clear out this whole notch. And now let's check. There we go. That's perfect. lines up nicely. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other 3 pieces, and I'll be back then. Alright guys, I've finished up the notches for all 4 legs, and they fit really well. For this part, you don't really need to worry about how snug they are. As long as the leg actually can fit over the slider piece, then we're good, because the rest of it's going to be filled in with wood glue anyway. So, but I did think of one thing that I do need to do with the drill and then with the scroll saw, and that is I need to drill basically a pilot hole. I'm pretty sure it's called. Basically somewhere around there, and then I need to cut it out with the scroll saw so that basically we can connect the leg sets with these thin strips of, not these ones, these strips of basswood, and these are 1/8 inch thick. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a 1/8 inch drill bit, and we're going to drill. Okay, so first we got to picture out how it's going to be. So basically, legs will be like that, slider will be there, spit will be coming across. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so it'll be like this, spit will be coming across, and we want a hole drilled this way, or, you know, whichever way, basically, you know, that direction. And so it's going to come across and it's going to connect. So we need a hole drilled in this side. So let me just prepare the drilling area real quick. And we do want this one to be kind of snug, so that's why I'm using the exact same width, or diameter rather, of drill bit as the width of the strips over here. So yeah, we want it to be all relatively about the same height up from the bottom. So I guess I might as well measure that out. So we'll go, this one's not too strict, like we don't really have to worry about how low it is, but I think a good length or a good height above the ground would be 2 inches. So we will just mark 2 inches up, same direction on every single leg. All right, so let's just line them up. Oh, that's wrong. Okay, well, I don't really know what happened here, but yeah, those are all wrong, or at least some of them are. So let's see what happened here, actually. Yeah, that was 2.5. I don't know why I made it 2.5, but simple fix. And the last one's good. Okay, cool. Now let's just basically make a line here so that we know which one's correct. Awesome. And now I have to drill 4 holes. Got our 1/8 inch drill bit. And we're gonna go straight down all the way through this leg. Just make sure it's going the right direction. All right, that's looking pretty good. We have 4 holes here, pretty centered, and now those are ready to be set up with the scroll saw. All right, so first off, before I detach this blade, I'm just going to cut off the tops, like I said I was going to do earlier, of these. No, I just realized I'm going to have to drill more holes here, but those are super easy. And by the way, we basically want to go through that midpoint of the circle, because we don't really want it to be, we don't want the skewer to have trouble getting through the top because it kind of closes near the top. So basically halfway through. Alright, I've used my terrible scroll saw skills to cut off the tops of every one of these pieces here. And evidently I can't cut a straight line, but if we want to, we can always sort of deepen these holes here and, you know, make it level. But like I said, it really doesn't matter for this top part. And another thing is you can also use a bigger drill bit if you want. It just depends really on how big of a skewer you want to use, how big of a spit you want to put on. But now we need to cut a notch down through there so we can actually fit these thinner strips of wood thinner strips of wood here. These ones are, this is basically going to be our spit piece that actually holds the hot dog, and it's 1/16 inch thick. So we just basically have to cut a notch down the middle basically of every one of these 4 pieces here. Well, that's looking pretty rough, but we can smooth that out with the Dremel. All right, that should be roughly deep enough to hold our strip here. Yeah, that's perfect. So it's wide enough. It's fine. It's deep enough. It doesn't really have to fit entirely in there, but it's pretty good. And now I'll just do that on all the other 3 pieces. This one came out a little wider than the others, but that's perfectly fine. All right. Now we have 4 pieces, which can both house a round sort of skewer and a flat one. Perfect. So apparently I forgot how to take out a scroll saw blade, and I kind of snapped the one that was in there, so I had to make a run to Home Depot and get some more. But now the good thing is I have a ton of nice scroll saw blades here, so I can just easily replace that. And yeah, so the correct way to do it is actually to loosen this thing, kind of like the latch on like a scooter or a bike seat or something. To loosen that, and then this thing just kind of basically, well, yeah, anyway, I think it's already down, but yeah. So this thing can then go down, and you can replace a blade. So I'm going to do that now. Actually, before I do that, what I need to do is actually put the blade through this. Because we have to cut out this whole middle section here. So in order to do that, we have to get the blade inside. Well guys, there's the first piece cut out. It took like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes or so, but it's looking pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing for the other piece, and I'll see you then. Alright guys, I finished cutting out the hole in the other one, and here they are. They're not perfect, especially this one, the second one I cut, but as long as it has enough room for the washer to fit over it, like enough surface area, then we're good. And that's pretty decent. I mean, it could be better, but it works. As long as it just can't go through this slot, basically. And if it does, then I'll have to redo it. But nah, that's pretty good. Alright, so now what we need to do is, let's see here. We need to drill the hole, or actually put the saw blade through the hole. We need to make the hole a little bit bigger, fit the saw blade through, and then make these slots here. And then I think, I want to say that's about all we have to do with the scroll saw for now, but we'll see. Move it in and out to connecting. And there we go. Just like that. Our saw blade should fit through that now. Let's just check. Ah, perfect. Cool. Now let's get that on the scroll saw. Actually, first, I'm going to just drill out the other ones real quick. Do the same thing for the other 3 legs. Number 4. Awesome. Another thing I could do is just use a file for this. But nah. I think with this size of strip, it'd be better to just use a scroll saw. There's how it came out with the scroll saw. It's not big enough yet to compare let's see here. Yeah, so we're almost there. I'm just gonna touch it up with the file. Ah, perfect. Nice and snug again. All right, well, I'm just gonna do that with the other 2 legs and I'll be back then. Perfect. All right. So that is all 4 legs with the notch sawed through them. And just to prove it, I'm going to skewer them all. This is really, really snug, and that's pretty much how we want it to be, actually. All right, guys, there it is. We have 4 legs with the notch in them. And they're all able to be perpendicular, so that's perfect. All right, legs are done, sliders are done. I think what we'll do next is actually start gluing the sliders into the legs, because while that's drying, then we can move on to making the actual fastener bit. So let's get us some wood glue, just some, normal wood glue, and start gluing the sliders on. So like I said, I want it to be about 6 inches above the ground. Let me see here. So that's going to be a problem. Well, basically, I guess I didn't really think about this, but what we're going to have a sort of area just where this leg meets the slider. We won't really be able to fasten the fastener bit onto it, the skewer holder or spit holder. So yeah. Anyway, it's really no big deal. Let me kind of clear up my workspace a bit. It's starting to get annoying. All right, so if we want it to be 6 inches above, if we want the spit to be 6 inches above the ground at minimum, we're gonna probably, let's see, so the lowest, that's about 6 inches. So yeah, we're gonna put it basically just a little bit underneath the halfway point of the slider. Yeah, well, I could put it halfway and then it'd be like 4 inches minimum. That might actually work, but yeah, I'll just do it halfway, pretty much. That way we have about a 4-inch minimum. And that's probably about 5 inches, but yeah, 4 or 5 inch minimum, and maximum would be that's probably like 14 inches or so. So not bad. All right, so let's just get started gluing them on. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now I'm gonna glue on the other one. And that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to move this out of the way and be careful not to move it because the glue is still not dry. So I'm gonna move that and I'm gonna glue the other ones onto the other slider. This is actually kind of fun. I'm having fun working with this. There's piece number 2. I'm just gonna set that aside to dry, just like the other one. All right, I'm back with more scratch paper, and now what I'm going to do is I want to match up these 2. Basically choose the 2 that are best with each other. I think I kind of did that earlier, but let's see here. Yeah, these match up pretty well. Okay, so those are good. And these are cut kind of terribly because like I said earlier, I'm pretty bad with the scroll saw. But those match up pretty well. All right, and now I'm going to get, basically I'm going to make it bigger than the bolt, because we want this bolt to be able to slide easily through the hole in here, because the way we're going to tighten it requires it to be free, basically. I think I bought a drill bit just for this, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I did buy a drill bit that's bigger than a 1/4 inch. It's getting a little windy out here, so I'm just going to open that up. All right, that's plenty big. Let's just put that in the drill bit real quick. All right, now I'm just going to basically, okay, so I'm going to line these up again because that's pretty important. All right, I'm going to hold it down tight and drill a hole. Yeah, there's those 2. Perfect. All right, well, I'm still waiting for the legs and sliders to dry, so I'm going to get out the pieces we need for these fastener bits. 2 wing nuts, and we need 4 washers. And I'm going to use these little 1/2-inch bolts since they're not going to be actually on the sliders. So, all right, here's where I find out if my idea does in fact work. Just barely. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting a washer there so that it can not go through the hole, the bolt, and another washer there, and a wing nut. And of course, if I need to, I can always grab a wrench for this other side if I want to make it even tighter, but they're not quite lined up, but I can always fix that. The holes, that is. But anyway, so there's proof right there that the fastening system actually does work. In fact, I could probably get more wing nuts and put a wing nut on the other side. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, that works pretty well. Yeah, this one came out even worse. But that's okay. What I'll just do is I'll probably use the drill or the Dremel. First, I'm going to cut off the edges probably with the scroll saw, and then use the Dremel to just fix the hole, basically. Alright, well, they're not perfect, but I mean, they line up now. So that's really all that matters. Now let's get that Dremel back out. Alright, now my goal here is just to sort of deepen the hole and make them line up again. Alright, now I'm going to put the grinding wheel on the Dremel. Alright, good to go. Now I'm just going to grab some round dowels I have just to test out how they rest in the fastener bits. Right, got me some, what are they, 3/16 inches wide dowels. Let's see how they fit. Yeah, it works pretty well. Twists really easily. And this one also works pretty well. Cool. So now, pretty much what I just want to do is touch these up, sort of use a scroll saw to make them the same. That is much better. They now are congruent with each other. And that, I think, should mean we are done, as long as the legs are dry, so let's check it out. Alright, well, they're not completely dry yet, but they are good enough and sturdy enough to test out. So one thing I'm going to do real quick is just change out this 1/2-inch bolt for a 3/4 inch bolt. Or actually, I think it's a 1 inch. Looks like it. And this was a 3/4. That's right. Alright. Now, let's begin putting it together, huh? First, actually, let's find out how portable this actually is. So, stack those. These are all the parts we need for this fire spit right here, and it all folds down into a pretty it's really flat. You could put this like between your dresser or something, or just like, yeah, it's pretty flat. Super easy to store and everything, which is one of the main reasons I made it, aside from the fact that there weren't really other adjustable fire spits online that I could see. Looks like it lines up fairly well. The legs, I probably should have lined it up before, but I mean, nothing serious, I don't think. Alright. And if I wanted to, I could trim this strip a bit. But for now, I'll just slide it farther through. Pretty well. they line up fairly well. Let's see here. Perfect. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just putting a washer on the nut, or on the bolt rather, putting the bolt through the holes and putting a washer on the other side, and then the wing nut to finish it off. Ah, that is so epic. Check that out. Of course, all these strips are too long, but yeah, there's a strip, fits nicely in there, pretty snug. Now let's test out the rod, or the dowel rather. There we go. That is the finished, well, relatively. There's still a couple things I could do, like I could grind these corners away and everything, but I'm too lazy right now. Been working on this for a long time. So yeah, this could get a longer dowel, I'm sure, but twists nice and easily. Well, there you have it, folks. There's the finished fire spit. Adjustable, portable, you name it. There's a couple more, forget it. A couple more things I could do, like angling these legs at the bottom so they're flush with the ground. But, I mean, it's not really necessary. I mean, it doesn't really bother me, but if you make this and you want to do it, you can. By the way, guys, I did just want to show the adjustability of it. So here's our minimum height that we can have. This is actually, let me grab my ruler and we will find out how tall it is, rather. Okay, so minimum height is about 4 3/4 inches, which is pretty perfect. It's pretty much exactly what I wanted, between 4 and 6 inches, and it slides really well. So if you wanted to, you could probably set up like a motorized sort of thing to automatically rotate this for you. And yeah, basically all I did to drop it down here was just loosen this and, you know, reattach, re-put on all the washers and everything and just slide it down. So I am actually super happy with how this came out. Also, here's what it looks like when it's fully extended to its 2-foot length. It looks, I mean, like I said before, this thing looks really legit. But anyway, I think that's about it for this video. Like I said before, this won't be a regular thing, these types of behind-the-scenes videos. It was just to help me sort of, for one, upload today on a day which would normally I would not be able to upload if it weren't for this video. So these won't be a regular thing, but I do think it was a cool way to show you the whole creation process. You know, all this mind changing, all this thinking, all this decision making that goes on in the prototyping. And pretty much is a reason why it's so difficult to upload how-to videos every Friday. But originally I wasn't planning on making a tutorial for this project. I don't know if I will still, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, if you like this video, if you like this project, and if you want me to make a tutorial for it. And as always, I really appreciate you guys watching. If you can help me out by dropping a thumbs up if you like the video, subscribing, sharing, you name it, it'll help me basically grow faster and help me quit my job so I can work on YouTube full time. But yeah, anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again. I'll see you next Friday.